stuck here. The cops won't bother me. It's kind of ironic because I used to commute a lot and I was doing it all sorts of bikes, but I never really used the vstrom as a commuter until I think I did for 2 years as a commuter. But I really thought that this would make an excellent bike for commuting every day because it's so comfortable and able. It's not the sort of bike that you'd buy and then a year later you put too many miles and you know the engine starts to wear out. That was the case with my Ninja 250s when I was using them for commuting. The engine started to feel a little weak, especially my 08 Ninja 250. It just felt a little bit weak after 87,000 miles. I did sell it for, I think, 1,500 bucks. So I bought it new. So I put all of those miles by myself. It was a great bike. That inline 2, I got like, man, this car's burning oil. I got like 70 miles to the gallon, which is incredible. 70 miles to the gallon is amazing for a small scooter, a small motorcycle. But I never got into the scooter commuting game. Actually, I did. I had a Ruckus and I used the C3 to get to work a few times, but I always used the motorcycle. I did use R1s, KLR 650s, XRs, every bike I've had I commuted in. Surprisingly, one of the bikes that I don't see as a great commuter was the 1300cc bikes. I had an ST 1300 and you would think, oh yeah, that makes a perfect commuter. I didn't think so. It was an extremely flawed bike. The vstrom is a much better bike for commuting because you sit upright. You do that in the ST 1300 as well, but the vstrom is just so much more flickable than the ST 1300. The ST was extremely comfortable. It was smooth, but in the summer it heated up so much in between the legs that I would get to work and it looked like I just peed myself because there was just so much sweat from the seat, and that's something that should not happen for riding. It's a great bike for cross-country trips, but I've only gone to Deal's Gap with it. The Ninja 250s were great, except a 250 engine, I think at about 80,000 miles, it's kind of worn. You need to put new rings on them, and I am not the type of guy that wants to deal with engine modifications. So for me, having a bike like the vstrom makes complete sense because a 650 should be good for 200,000 miles as long as you keep up with maintenance. And a lot of people in the United States, you can get a used vstrom with very few miles extremely cheap because, let's face it, riders in the United States don't ride. They talk about riding. They're always on the internet buying Farkles for their bikes. So you could always get great deals on used bikes for commuting and putting tons of miles. The vstrom makes, I think it's probably one of the better commuters that I've had. It's smooth, comfortable, it gets good gas mileage for a V-twin. I think I get like 55. You can even get 60 if you change the sprockets. I did do that for a cross-country trip and I was getting like 60. But I just like how this bike handles for commuting. It's svelte, it's very thin, it's not too wide. The ST 1300 was so wide and at the bottom part near the wheels, it's got this wing that kind of comes out a little bit. So one time I went over a curb, or I made a right turn, but I made it in DC and I hit that wing on the actual curb because it's got such a low tolerance. So this one's got a high clearance, so you're never going to be scraping things. And the tires last you a very long time. On an ST1300, they just did not last long at all. There are other bikes that I feel would make great commuters. Maybe a 400cc scooter. Scooters make a whole lot of sense, man, especially in this area in DC. You basically have to put up with a lot of traffic, bumper to bumper. So when you have something that is just automatic, it makes a lot of sense for commuting purposes. And I think a lot of riders don't get automatic bikes because they feel it's not manly enough. And at a certain point I actually thought that. I thought it's kind of gross to have an automatic bike, but after riding scooters I do see the benefit of them. And you have storage underneath your seat, so that makes it much more convenient just to commute in. So that's some of the reasons why the vstrom makes a very good commuter. It's so reliable, it's cheap, you can drop it, and even if it's got a bunch of road rash, it still looks cool, like with a bunch of rash. It actually looks cooler with rash than without. And it's kind of like a KLR 650. It's a much more reliable KLR 650 and much more comfortable too. So with the clearance that you have, the suspension, you can go over speed bumps. So all in all, this vstrom makes an excellent commuter. And I hope you enjoyed it. You know, don't bother subscribing to my channel. I never say anything important. So yeah, go fuck yourselves. I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Kind of stuck here. The cops won't bother me.